with somebody who became a millionaire at 21 thanks to Bitcoin. That's what he says. I'm quoting him. We're going to put it to the test. Mpho Dagada's interest in Bitcoin was ignited while he was in his first year at university, the University of Johannesburg, 2013. That's like 4 years ago. I can't say 5 years ago. I know it's 2018 now, but it's only the beginning. The University of Johannesburg graduate says he got involved with the cryptocurrency in 2014. Quote, when I got involved, one Bitcoin was worth $200, or 2,780 Rand then. I bought myself some Bitcoins, and to my shock, in 2015, the Bitcoin price jumped to 40,000 Rand. From 2,780 Rand, it jumped to 40,000 Rand. I realized I was sitting on a small fortune, he recalls. Well, the man sitting on a small fortune is sitting on a big chair in front of me tonight. Mpho, good evening.
Evening. Thank you for having me.
Wow, you look too modest for a millionaire. Well, tell us first, what is Bitcoin before we talk about how you got in?
Okay.
In layman's terms.
All right. So in layman's term, we're looking at what we call a digital currency. All right. So it's digital, but together with this digital currency, we've got encryption techniques called cryptography, and that's where the name cryptocurrency comes from. So what this cryptography does is it's an encryption technique used to actually create the actual digital currency. And obviously it functions through a technology which is profound and which sits at the center stage of what cryptocurrency is about, and the technology is called blockchain. So simply put, it's a digital currency which uses encryption techniques called cryptography. And yeah, that's what it is.
So it's virtual?
It's virtual, yes, digital.
So it's like a stock?
It's not like a stock. It's the difference here is it's a new. I always like to shy away from comparing it to stuff like stocks or shares, etc. It's a new digital footprint. It's a new digital coin that has never been there before. So it's a new thing altogether.
How is it usable? You see, the reason I'm asking, is it like a stock, is I'm thinking, you've grown your Bitcoin from 2.7 to 40,000 over the years, but is it something that you can go over the counter and trade with?
So it is very, very usable. So people use it as a store of value and obviously as a medium of exchange. So the reason why people prefer using Bitcoin, or why the world is changing towards using cryptocurrencies, which are blockchain regulated, is because they find it to be a better system to use than normal currency. So let's speak about Zimbabwe, a very close example to South Africa. When the Zimbabwean dollar had crashed and there was nothing else to use, people started trading amongst one another using Bitcoin. So people started sending Bitcoin through to Zimbabwe, and there was a Bitcoin economy that was created of that. So people were able to trade and continue doing business through Bitcoin. We use another country in Venezuela when they had the issues with their currency. They also introduced that. In Greece, when they had an issue with the banks, Bitcoin came forth as a solution. So people like to use it as a solution when fiat currencies or the currencies that we have currently fail or are manipulated to work against them. We remember that Bitcoin was actually created after the 2008 financial crash in the United States. Yeah. And the reason why it was created was actually to solve those issues that the financial crisis had actually brought upon people. Issues like double spending, issues like corruption, issues like manipulation to the actual currency. So what happened there is the technology called blockchain technology is created to eliminate that. And it does eliminate that through its function. So people use it as a medium of exchange. People use it as a store of value.
Who created this? And how legal is this?
So it was created by a man called Satoshi Nakamoto.
Okay.
He's a mathematician. He likes to keep his identity private, so nobody really knows who he is. But through research...
Like Bitcoin?
Not really.
Okay.
But through research, people have been able to find out, sort of map out who he is, but he has never denied nor accepted that he's the actual creator of the cryptocurrency.
Okay. I don't want to spend too much. So he creates this thing, it goes out there, Mpho and everybody else gets in, people make money. How sure are we that it's not a Ponzi scheme? How sure are we that it's not those that came in 2013 that will make money and those who come in 2018 will lose their money?
Okay, that's a very good question. So what we have here is we actually have a digital print of what your coin is worth. A lot of people come up with the question to say, look, we see this cryptocurrency. Where does value actually come from? All right. Now that brings me to how it's actually created. Okay. Now I'd like to simulate two scenarios: a gold mine and a cryptocurrency mine, right? Because to create cryptocurrency, you go through a process called mining, all right? So in a simulation where we valued gold as a store of value, and gold is actually mined, and the process of mining is what actually creates a lot of value, and people actually valuing it is what creates the value of gold. So the same has been simulated with cryptocurrency, but the difference is we're not using earth-moving equipment to actually mine, dig into the ground, and get the gold out. We're using computers to solve mathematical issues, and through the solving of those mathematical issues, we generate what we call new bitcoins. Now, whereas with normal fiat currencies, the government or central authority can print out at their own need, with cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin as one example, remember there are many different ones, we've got only 21 million. So there's only 21 million that will ever be created in the world. So what happens then?
But who determines only 21 million?
It's the code. So what happens is, as soon as a cryptocurrency is released, you need to release the white paper, which is the code behind it. So everyone who's involved actually gets to see what's going on. So we're taking away the manipulation phase where people cannot manipulate, create more, decrease it, increase it, change it, move it from one. We're creating a situation where everything is in a public ledger. Everything is visible to everybody who's involved in that community. So what actually happens then is, through this process called mining, you use what we call supercomputers, the same way you use equipment to mine gold. You use supercomputers, and those supercomputers use electricity to actually mine that. And that's where value is generated, number one. And secondly, value is generated within the community through demand and supply. Now, when we look back and we look at how money actually started, when money started, people used to say, but how can you value a paper? Let's actually use the gold standard, which was the normal use of things. But as time came by, people said, look, this paper has got value because it's backed up by something. And through along the process, something happened where the backing up sort of moved away or things got tricky. Whereas with cryptocurrency, the backing up remains there because the blockchain technology is a public ledger that allows everybody to see what's going on. So what we've got here, we've got something for the people, by the people, regulated by demand and supply, and pure, true demand and supply without manipulation. So we've got a new system of money. We've got new money that's come up that's actually controlled by you and I in the community. Whereas those, for example, who lost all their pension and all their fortune through what happened in Zimbabwe will not stand that risk, because here everything is visible and price is determined by those within. So it's a community of people that have actually created value, not out of nowhere, out of the process of actually creating these cryptocurrencies. And a last big value point is that they solve different issues. So different cryptocurrencies solve different issues. We've got many different ones. For a cryptocurrency like Ripple, now banks have started using Ripple to transact interchangeably between each other because they find it more efficient than using normal fiat currency. So banks are now saying, we're going to use Ripple to interchange for foreign exchange instead of using normal currency, because we see the issues with normal currency. Hence, we'll use Ripple because it's faster and more technology advanced. We've got a coin like Tron, which people want to use in the media, which connects the media personality to the actual consumer without the middleman. So we've got different coins that are created for different reasons, and they solve different problems. And because they do that, that's where the value comes from, and that's where the buy-in comes from, and demand and supply play its role, as with a normal economy is supposed to.
My guest is Mpho Dagada. He's author of How I Became a Millionaire, 21 Bitcoin. Bought Bitcoin in 2014 at 2,780 Rand, and in 2015 it had jumped to 40,000 Rand. Up to what point are these cryptocurrencies not going to be a threat to fiat currencies, and by extension not going to be a problem for governments?
Okay, so what we look at the model that cryptocurrency has created to actually influence fiat currency. To say we've had so many issues with fiat currency where economies collapse overnight, things happen behind doors. A classic example, South Africa, Steenhof, where things just collapse overnight and people have lost their hard-earned money without knowing what actually happened. So the first thing we expect is that cryptocurrencies and the model behind it, which is transparency, a public ledger, true demand and supply, we expect that to actually influence.
But all currencies are demand and supply if you think about it. I mean,
Not really. They can be demand and supply, but you can have governmental manipulation. For example, when Zimbabwe overprinted.
yeah.
So those sort of things are the issues that people have got with fiat currency. Another one is double spending. Another one is corruption, where you've got people doing corrupt things within there. Another one is people creating a fake currency of that same currency. Whereas with blockchain technology, it's impossible to do that. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at the cryptocurrency model influencing fiat currency. But not only that, we're looking at cryptocurrency creating a global, or rather enhancing the already existing global economy. Because remember, with Bitcoin, I can pay a supplier in China within 10 minutes. With Ripple, I can pay a supplier in China within 12 seconds. So we're looking at enhancing that global. And
But funny you should mention China, who are beginning to say they don't like cryptocurrencies, and they're raising flags about cryptocurrencies.
interesting one about China. China is the biggest producer of cryptocurrency. So we always find that with China, and another thing you'll notice within financial records is that anything that China bans is set for success. I mean, look at Facebook, look at Google,
Yeah.
look at all these different companies that have come up that China's banned. So they have a very stringent way of looking at things. But what's surprising us is even with China saying they've banned it, China remains the biggest producer of cryptocurrencies in the world. And not only that, their trade volumes increase by the day. So another thing with cryptocurrencies, systems like, for example, a dictatorship that has no control over cryptocurrency. So they're sort of above the political situation. But another good thing is that political situations, as well as regulation, is welcome to come and assess cryptocurrencies and do what they need to do. So for example, SARS is more than welcome to have a look at the cryptocurrency blockchain, which is accurate, and actually apply the tax rules according
Well,
to
I was
that.
about to ask, is tax applicable to cryptocurrencies?
There are talks within South Africa that the South African Revenue Service is looking at taxing cryptocurrencies. And that's a welcome decision because we understand that that's how we sustain the economy. So there will be tax implications in the future, and I believe that...
Personally, I think they should be. If I took 40,000 rand of mine off the system and bought into this currency from which I'll make money, I should be eligible for some tax.
Definitely.
Because I took money out of the revenue of the country.
Definitely. No, I agree with you that there should actually be a tax there. And obviously the South African Reserve Bank will obviously come up with the proper legislation on how to do it. In other countries, they have started taxing it. In South Korea, they're looking at legislation to bring that in. But even beyond that, what people are more interested in is this perfect financial system that is coming on board and the crooked financial system that people have currently. A lot of people have struggled and had issues with the financial system that exists, that in the way that it is formed and in the way that it is structured, it is full of corruption, it is full of manipulation, and it is full of people actually creating their own economies within this one economy. Yeah. Whereas with cryptocurrencies, we allow everybody to participate from a standpoint of demand and supply.
Final question, Mpho. It has grown phenomenally in a very short space of time. It has to plateau at some point. In fact, cynically, it has to tank at some point.
I wouldn't use the word tank. I think you'd only use the word tank when something has got no value or basis. It is the same argument people say when people like to say gold will tank at some point. Or gold will become useless at some point, as people have been saying over years to say, look, we're going to see the crash of gold soon. But because people have put value on it, remember, the economy is sustained by those that choose to put value. If people are choosing to put value on the dollar will increase. So it's all dependent on where people are putting their value. And currently, there's nothing better than what cryptocurrencies has offered people. So currently, we're looking at a lot of people getting involved because they're beginning to understand, research, and get knowledge on the financial system. So when we speak about tanking, I always say there must be reasons to that happening. Currently, there are no reasons. And when we look at the reasons of it happening, or rather speculation of it happening, we see that the reasons are based on people saying because a lot of Ponzi schemes or whatever the case is, which has got nothing to do with cryptocurrencies. So in my opinion, we're not looking at a tank. What we are looking at is a new digital revolution where cryptocurrencies, not only Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ripple, Ethereum, the different cryptocurrencies that solve different, and even in future, Africa Coin. We're looking at those sort of things, people putting value on them, and those helping enhance the digital revolution which we see today.
Well, this man has grown enough knowledge about cryptocurrencies. He's got wide knowledge and understanding of the phenomenon. He's spoken in San Francisco, New York, London about cryptocurrencies. And he's just spoken on Metro FM Talk with Rams. Mpho Dagada. It's been wonderful chatting to you. I hope I don't call you again when things go bad. I want to call you when it's 80,000 rand. Great chatting to you tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Good evening.